If you have ever made good money in your business but had no idea where it went, you're not alone. I have worked with so many businesses who are bringing in revenue and signing clients and staying busy. And they still have this underlying feeling of, am I actually doing okay? And I get that because I used to be that business owner. I was busy, I was making money, but I wasn't really looking at my numbers consistently until I went through a business evolution, if you will, from being a project manager and integrator to only working in the financial consulting realm. So, by the way, if we haven't met yet, I am Randi Turkin. I am the founder and CEO of I Need a Clone Consulting. I am a strategic bookkeeper, also known as a fractional CFO. I'm a hybrid consultant, and I also call myself a manifesting strategist. Um, and the reason for that is because I'm a dreamer and a doer. I don't believe that your numbers, your money exists in a vacuum. Your business, your habits, your decisions, your mindset, where your soul's at, all of it is connected. And while I absolutely do handle the structure and the systems and the strategy behind my clients' finances, I'm also looking at how they're showing up as a CEO in their business because cash flow is the lifeblood of your business and everything ties back to it. All of those other things they're going to tie back to your cash flow. So if you are making money and you have no idea where it went, then there's a reason for that. The reason that this happens, it's not because you're bad with money, I promise. It's probably also partly because no one ever taught you how to deal with money, but also it's because you're not actually looking at your numbers in a consistent, structured way. And I'm going to help you with that today. So, at a minimum, you want two touch points with your numbers. You want a weekly check in and you want a deeper monthly review. So your weekly check-in is simple. You're looking at your bank balance, what came in, what went out, and making sure that nothing feels off. Did all of your invoice payments come through? Like, did Stripe send you all your money? Are they holding some? Did something hit your account that you weren't expecting? I am guilty of Amazon Prime hitting my account every single year. And I'm like, dang, where'd that $200 go? Oh, got it. So this is just really about awareness, this weekly check-in. And then your monthly review is where things really start to come together. So this is where you're looking at your profit and loss, your expenses, your cash, and where you're asking, is my business actually working? Because once you start looking at things regularly, you can finally answer the real question, which is my business actually doing well financially? And this is where a lot of business owners realize that they are not as clear as they thought they were. So when you do this monthly review, this deep dive into what's happening, I have several questions that I want you to be asking yourselves. So we'll go through those now. This is what I want you to start looking at. First, are you actually profitable? Or are you just bringing in revenue? So you definitely want to be looking at not just your revenue, but that bottom line, that net income number. Okay. Do you have enough cash in the bank to cover your expenses without stress? Those last two words are really important in that question, without stress. Do you have enough cash in the bank to cover everything without stress? Is there breathing room, essentially? You're going to want breathing room, okay? Are you paying yourself regularly or just taking what's left over? In other words, do you have a guaranteed salary as the business owner? You need one, right? You didn't start your business to work for free, did you? No. So if you are not taking home a guaranteed salary every single month, then perhaps profit first is something you might want to look at. Um, what else? Let me look at my notes here. Okay. Is your revenue steady or does it feel unpredictable? So basically, this is, do you have consistent monthly revenue streams, or is it just kind of haphazard, like only when a client pays you, or when a project gets started or restarted, like when they re-up on their contract? You definitely want to be creating some sort of consistent monthly revenue if you don't already have one, and make it something that you're going to be able to depend on each month. Okay. Are your expenses under control? Or are they slowly creeping up? And let me expand on this a little bit, because if your expenses are creeping up and your revenue is also increasing, then that's not such a big deal for your cash flow. Another way that your expenses might creep up is if you have invested in a program, like some sort of coaching program or education, or an asset perhaps that you need for the business, something that is going to give you an ROI later. That is also not as big of a deal because it is a one-time thing. What you're looking for here is the pattern of expenses creeping up without revenue going up. You want to really take a look at what's happening there. Okay. Um, so look for the patterns. Are you relying on credit cards to operate? Okay. So this is a big one. If you're using credit cards on a regular basis, while your business might look profitable on paper, like your P&L might show a nice net income for, let's say, April, but then May, you're in the negatives. Why is that? Well, it's because the expense of the credit card didn't get paid until the next month, meaning you got whatever products or services you put on that credit card in April, but you didn't pay the bill for it until May. And so using credit cards on a regular basis really makes it hard to track cash flow. So if you have not, you know, made a point to study finance and how that all works, then just be really careful if you're using credit cards. Make sure you're paying them off each month. Just keep an eye on that. Okay. I have seen I have seen businesses who thought that they were just doing so great, actually not being profitable at all, because it's very misleading on that P&L. Okay. Um, and last question I want you to ask yourself during this monthly review is, are your books accurate and up to date? Are they? Because the most important part of all of this is that you actually understand what your numbers are telling you. And if you don't have accurate and up-to-date books, then you're just guessing. So you want to make sure you understand what your numbers are telling you, because your numbers are not something to be afraid of. They're not here to judge you. They are simply telling you a story. It is a nonfiction story about what's actually happening in your business, right? So I know that a lot of business owners are making decisions based on assumptions instead of that story. And we all know what making decisions based on assumptions is going to do to you and to me. I had to throw that in there. If you're thinking, okay, yes, I'm going to deal with all of this later, I'll just save this, and it's not a big deal right now because I'm really focusing on this. Or if you're thinking, well, my accountant actually handles all that, then there's a big disconnect here, okay? Because let's just say you're going to let your accountant deal with it. Well, your accountant typically, unless you are a multimillionaire, is typically only looking at your numbers once a year when it comes time to do your tax return. And so let's say something happened in January or February of 2026. You don't know about it until April of 2027. That's a huge time gap. And you are then making decisions based on assumptions because you don't actually know about something huge that happened over a year ago until it's way too late. And by that time, maybe the ship is sinking. And I don't mean to be like super negative, but I have seen this happen over and over again. It is so important for you to be doing that monthly check-in with your numbers. Your money loves your attention. Give it some, okay? And maybe a little like return the favor for you, okay? So at a certain point, checking in when you have time isn't going to be enough. At a certain point, guessing is not going to be an option. And so this is something that I've been working really closely with clients on lately. Not just the numbers themselves, but everything surrounding them. So when your finances feel unclear, it usually shows up in other areas too, like things like not knowing when you can hire, or like you need the help, but you're like, I don't even know if I can afford this. Well, your accurate and up-to-date books will tell you that if you're asking the right questions to them also. It also shows up like feeling scattered in your planning, like you're trying to do your quarterly plan, but you don't know how to budget. You don't know what to budget for. It shows up like avoiding decisions because you don't have clarity, or making decisions based on assumptions, which is just as bad. Okay, so yes, we're looking at your numbers in these sessions, but we're also working through, your cash flow, your budget, your goals, your systems, your strategy. We're dreaming and scheming. We're talking about leadership and other inspiring conversations like how to infuse magic and manifestation into your business. We're also talking about your personal pain points, your money wounds, how to get past those so that you stop avoiding your numbers. We're talking about work-life balance and so much more. So I often have clients tell me that they prefer to speak with me over their personal therapist, because this is not talk therapy by any stretch. I'm not a therapist. However, we are talking through a lot of this stuff and then putting actionable plans to them, right? So you don't feel like, okay, well, I just talked, now what? We are going to like get to the root of what the issue is and then set up something that is inspired action for you to move forward and reach that end goal that you have in mind. Okay. So all of that, it all impacts your money. And when your financial foundation is solid, everything else starts to feel a lot more grounded as well. So if you're at that stage where you're making money, but you don't fully understand what's happening in your business, or you're ready to actually sit down and work through and walk through this with someone, then you can book hybrid consulting sessions with me. We'll look at your numbers, your business, your goals, and we will start building a plan that actually supports where you're trying to go. And if you are not quite there yet because you don't even have accurate numbers to look at and you need bookkeeping help, we offer that too on a monthly or quarterly basis. So I encourage you to hop on over to my website. It's ineedaclone.com. You'll be able to see all of the services that we offer. In the meantime, I hope you have a beautiful day. I hope this helped. Make sure you go back and write down those questions that you want to be asking yourself every month during your monthly review. And I will see you next week for another fun video where I am going to be talking about the differences between employees and entrepreneurs. Okay, thank you. Have a beautiful day. Bye.